Hello and welcome now to this video. I don't know what this was. So something I wanted to talk about on my channel. By the way, I guess I should preface this video real quick. I had 2 edibles prior to the filming of this video, and I'm currently stony baloney, So here we are. Anyway, I don't know. I have to preface the video because, my mind is going to go off on tangents, most likely. So it is what it is. I've got some sparkling ice to keep my mouth not dry because I get pretty nasty cotton mouth when I'm high. Anyway, so in this video, I wanted to talk about my experience with OCD. Probably a great topic to be high with, right? I'll be fine. Anyway, so I don't have a formal diagnosis yet, but I was talking to a professional who specializes in OCD, and after seeing her for a while, she was like, no, yeah, it's pretty, you got it. Like, there's no doubt that you have it. It's just the process of making a formal diagnosis. It's a whole thing. And I don't know if I'm ready for formal diagnoses of any kind just yet. There's a lot to think about with that, but with the implication that gives. But anyway, point is, if a licensed professional is like, no, you got it. I'm pretty confident you have it. Like, it's a safe bet. You can bet that you have the thing. So that's why, even though I'm not formally diagnosed, where's my other chancla? There it is. Even though I'm not formally diagnosed, I still consider myself to have it. But anyway, now that we got all of that out of the way, let's get down into it, right? My experience with OCD. So I want to dispel a few myths in case there's people watching that don't know too much about OCD. But, the type of people that I'm going to attract, with astrology and MBTI and that kind of stuff is going to be, people that know about these things, right? But just to, cover my bases here. Myths about OCD is basically, it is an actual, diagnosable thing. It's not a weird, quirky personality trait or whatever. It's not like, oh, I love alphabetizing my fruits and vegetables. I don't fucking know. I must be so OCD. No, that's not how that quite works. OCD is an actual diagnosable thing, and it is, through my lived experience, I can tell you, it is debilitating at times. There's a lot of crippling anxiety that you get with it. But anyway, it's not a weird, quirky personality trait is the point. It's an actual thing. My experience with it, I said a few myths, and that was only one myth, but it was the most important thing. So, you know what? I'm counting it as 10 myths at least. Anyway, now that we're almost 4 minutes into the video, I can finally get on with what the topic is, right? My experience with OCD, like I said, it is debilitating. It's not something that's taken lightly or something that's like I said, it's not a personality trait. It's an actual thing, right? And I can honestly sit and tell you that when I found out about OCD and what it truly is, just not like the abridged version that a lot of people tend to know about online, but actually get to know OCD and what it is and the characteristics of it and stuff like that. That's when a light bulb just went off in my head, because how they say a lot online, if you're relating a little too much to looking about it, maybe there's something to it that you probably got it. You know what I mean? That's kind of a joke that goes on inside the psychology world or side of things. And OCD was one of those things. It was like, oh, this is looking a little too, familiar to me, reading these signs and symptoms. And so I did what any responsible adult would do, and I sought treatment, right? I looked for a therapist that specialized in it. I was able to find somebody, and I was able to get that diagnosis. I didn't get the diagnosis, but you know what I mean? Like the undiagnosed, but technically diagnosed thing. Anyway. And I was able to finally get that diagnosis, right? It really changed things for me, because prior to that, I really thought that everybody had a lot of the things that I was experiencing. That's like, everybody experiences that, because the world of the online, I said that in a weird way, the online world is filled with a lot of people that genuinely have experience with OCD, but then it's also filled with people that are just lying, right? There's a lot of misinformation, and you don't know who to trust and where to look at and whatever. And so before I looked into OCD, I always thought, there's no way I have it, because, I know people, like friends and family. I know people that get intrusive thoughts. Like, we talk about it. We can relate on that front, So I always thought, like, oh, that's something everybody experiences. Everybody has intrusive thoughts, right? And the answer is yes, a lot of people have intrusive thoughts, but there's a very big difference between having just a regular intrusive thought, like, how most people are going to have it, versus what intrusive thoughts look like when you have OCD. And the difference is the frequency of it. That's really what the difference is, right? For most people, it's like they'll have like one intrusive thought, like maybe 2 intrusive thoughts a day, but it's really not going to be a whole lot if they even have them, right? Because some people don't even have those kinds of intrusive thoughts. But the people that do, it's like not super frequent typically. For OCD, it's like it's an obsession. Like, you cannot stop thinking about it. It's just constantly replaying. It's fucking debilitating, right? And a lot of the intrusive thoughts are really horrific too. Like, this is another thing I still don't know too much about. But I know that a lot of people with OCD talk about the intrusive thoughts that they can have, versus the intrusive thoughts that, like, the everyday person who has intrusive thoughts, what they think of when those intrusive thoughts come in, right? The intrusive thoughts can really be as mundane as, like, if you're driving down the road, oh, there's a pedestrian, go run them over. And to think that that's mundane for me is kind of wild, right? But that's a mundane one. That's like, yeah, that can happen every day, basically, for me. Anytime I drive, I mean, it pretty much does. If I see people on the road, I have an intrusive thought to go run them over. Or, another one that happens a lot is to crash or to swerve and crash into oncoming traffic. That one will also. There's also, like, it's like my mind sees barriers, and immediately my impulsive or intrusive thought is burst through. I guess it's like kind of impulsive, but I don't act on it, but it's like burst through that barrier and just cause mayhem or break something, or there's always something going on in my mind when I'm driving. I can't just sit and like chill and not think about those things. The only way, actually, one of the ways that I can like put it to ease is singing. So I do a lot of karaoke in my car, because if I don't, intrusive thoughts will always get the better of me. But if I distract my mind with singing, they're a lot less likely to happen. But anyway, so it could be as mundane as something like that, like, get into a car accident, or it could be something really horrific, like sexually violating children or animals, something to that degree, or mutilating a person. I'm not talking about just like if I have something sharp in my hand, if it's not mutilating myself, the intrusive thought, it's mutilating another person, the intrusive thought. And usually what I use the word mutilating very deliberately here, because it's not just a simple like, oh, stab them to death. It's like kidnap them and torture them, like dig the sharp object into their fingernails and rip their fingernails off, gouge their eyes out, like slowly scratch the eyes until they're completely blind and then poke it out of their heads. If it's like a knife of some kind, it's slowly chop their tongue bit by bit. Like, it's gruesome, mutilating, intrusive thoughts. And if it's not about myself, it's about another person. Other intrusive thoughts I might have, one that happens very frequently, and it like affects me emotionally to the point where I will literally, like, my whole mood is brought down and I get in such a deep depressive state over it. Like, it's that intense. But one that happens quite often is getting very lost in thought about my own death. Like, I died tragically, what the implications of thereof and stuff like that. And I get very lost into it, and it just completely dampens my entire mood for the foreseeable future. Like, it's to the point where I can't talk to people. I can't, nothing. I have to be alone. Give me a second here. So I get a lot of intrusive thought stuff with OCD. But another thing that happens to me, another form of it, is health anxiety. So I get, oh, my nail just plopped right off. I get a lot of health anxiety, right? My most recent health anxiety trip that I've had is believing, and I mean like truly believing from the bottom of my heart, pun intended, that I have congestive heart failure and that I am dying. And my mind will convince me of this any opportunity it gets. Any little like heart palpitation, any little like anything, my heart beats a little bit too fast for me if I'm walking, my mind will immediately start thinking, oh my God, this is it. I'm having a heart attack. Or, oh my God, this is it. The blockage that I've had from in my heart for years now, it's finally getting me and I'm gonna die. Like, it's intense. The only reason why I don't call the ambulance anymore like I used to over my health anxieties is because I've learned, over time and dealing with it, it's just anxiety. And in the same capacity that I've been able to get over it before, I'll get over this anxiety attack now and everything will be fine and I'll laugh about it later. I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty good about doing that now. But, if my best friend could be here to attest, she will tell you, yeah, this bitch with her health anxieties. I think one of the prior times it was skin cancer. I had like really severely convinced myself that I had skin cancer, and I was driving her crazy with my messages of being like, I have skin cancer. Like, look at this mole. Doesn't it look weird and suspicious to you? And she had to deal with that. And I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. But I do have a lot of health anxieties. And a lot of them are not unfounded, which is the worst part about it, because it's the fact that the health anxieties that I have are not out of the realm of reality for me. I do have cholesterol issues, right? I do have like COPD. I have family history of cancer. I do have a lot of moles, like me developing skin cancer, me developing like some kind of heart problem or something. These are very plausible things for me if I don't take care of myself, right? And that's what feeds the anxiety even further for me. Another one is colon cancer. Like, my grandfather on my dad's side had colon cancer. He didn't die from it, but he did have it. So it's like a lot of the complications that I have going on, or a lot of the health anxieties I have going on rather, are plausible. They can happen. So it's like, it feeds into the anxiety. It becomes a never-ending loop. especially when you pair that up with me being NITI, my NITI loop on that anxiety, you can imagine it goes crazy, right? Anyway, I also, to a lesser degree, I have checking, where, is that what it's called? I think it's called checking. Basically, with my car and my house or my apartment, right? Like, if there's nobody home, if I'm by myself here, I get so much anxiety that the door is unlocked. But when my dad is here, I know that I can trust him to lock the door, so I don't have as much anxiety. But when I'm alone, I'm telling you, the anxiety is out of the roof. Out of the roof? Is that the expression? I don't know what expression that was, but it doesn't feel right. Anyway, so I get so much anxiety over potentially having the door unlocked that literally I go to check to see if the door is locked 800 times. The only reason why I don't do that, even when alone, is if there is somebody present. And even they can even be like on the phone. As long as there's somebody present who can attest to the fact that I locked the door, then I'm at ease. Like, okay, I locked the door. Like, I asked them and they said, yes, you locked the door. Okay, perfect. I don't have to worry because I trusted them, right? But if I'm home alone and I'm not on the phone with anybody and I'm just here on my own, you bet I am going to be getting up and checking that door like 17 times an hour, most likely. But the funny thing is, when it comes to my car and making sure my car is locked, 3 to 4 beeps and I'm good. 3 to 4 beeps, it feels right. It can be either 3 or 4. It just depends what feels right for me at that moment. Most of them it's 3, sometimes it's 4. But when it's 3 to 4 times, I do the little beep beep to lock my car door, then I feel at ease. I'm like, okay, it's locked for sure. And that is not every now and then. That is every time. Every time I'm locking my car. Like, if I park somewhere and I'm walking away from my car and I'm trying to lock it, is 3 or 4 times. Yeah, that is one form that it manifests. How else does it manifest? There's a number of ways that it manifests. I do have a little bit of contamination, OCD. So one thing I really heavily struggle with is like sharing drinks or sharing food and stuff like that. Like, I will if I must. Like, if we're sharing like nachos or something, you know, I'll do that. That's fine. As long as everybody's, you know, we're not like eating the chips and then, you know, suckling our fingers until they're all moist and wet and then re-going in there with the same hand. As long as that's not happening, then I'm fine. We're good. And I know that your hands are clean and whatever, but I feel like that's like a general thing. Most people are gonna feel that way. But where I kind of have an issue with contamination is like spit. So saliva in any capacity, if it's like anywhere near anything that I'm about to eat and it's not my saliva, even if it's my saliva, sometimes it gives me the ick. But if it's not my saliva, especially, the food is done for me. This is the same thing with hair. Sometimes when I find a hair that's not my hair in my food, I can't finish my meal. I have to throw it away. I can't even go back to it later. Like, the food is done for me at that point. But saliva is one thing. It's very difficult for me to share straws with people or share drinks. Like, do I force myself to do it? Yes. Not like that made it sound like I just do it at any opportunity. No, it's if the opportunity is there, right? Or like, not the opportunity is there, because that makes it sound like I'm seeking the opportunity. There's no way I could say this without making myself sound like I want this. No, I want to, drink that drink that has all your spit on it. Anyway, it's basically like if I'm with a group of friends and they have a drink and they're like, hey, do you want to try it? That kind of situation, which is not very common. But if it happens, I'm not going to be a prude and be like, no, your spit is all over it. Yuck. Like, no. Like, I'll if I want to try it, I'll try it. And I more likely than not force myself to do it to expose myself. Because I am a little bit of a what is it, sadist, masochist, whatever, when it comes to like learning things. I like learning things the hard way. But that is one form of the OCD is contamination. But another, like one way that it manifests itself that's more akin to what OCD is let's say I'm talking to somebody and a little spittle comes out of their mouth and just lands anywhere on my person. I have to immediately wipe it off of me. And I don't do it because it's rude. So I'm not going to like excuse myself and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to leave. Because it's also like wild to do that because of a little spittle. But you better believe once that conversation is done, I'm going to the bathroom and I'm going to wash over the area that spittle landed on 7,000 times until I feel like it's clean. Or if I don't have that available to me, I don't have like a bathroom or anything available to me, hand sanitizer. It does enough quelling that I can wait until I get home so that I can then wash it. But at some point, it's going to be scrubbed clean to a very, a far degree, far more than really I should. But yeah, there is that level of that for me. I know I have other OCD things, but I can't really think of them at the moment. But I guess my kind of experience with all of these things, I guess this video is more talking about what I experience more than my experience with them. But I guess to like touch on it at the very end, my experience living with these things, it's very, it can be very debilitating. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said at the start of the video, it can be very, very debilitating. Especially to the point, like, another one that I get a lot is, I don't know what it would fall under, but it's like I have to retrace my steps a lot of the times, right? Or I have to like either physically walk over a mentally laid out path, or drive over a mentally laid out path. And if I do something wrong in that mentally laid out path, I have to retrace my steps and then do it right. Until I get it right and it feels right for me, I have to keep retracing my steps over and over and over. So it's something that I've gotten better at over the years. But when I was younger, I remember it was especially bad. I couldn't walk with like groups of friends sometimes because I would be the one trailing behind them. Because I would have to retrace my steps a lot of the time. Like, I would be that friend that if we were walking, I would just abruptly stop without telling anybody, retrace my steps, and then walk the same thing again until I did it where it felt right to me. And people would just be looking at me like, what? Like, either they wouldn't notice that I started doing that until they're like way down the line and then they're like, wait, where the hell's Joss? Or it would either be that, or they would just like notice, but be standing there in confusion. I was trying to find my words. Because I would look really weird doing it, right? Like I'm walking the path and then I'm like, no, I have to go back and do the same thing. And the thing is, the way my mind worked at that time is I couldn't retrace my steps stepping on the same thing that I was trying to step on initially, like where the path was laid out. I had to walk around the path that I had laid out in my head and then start from the beginning. Because if I walked over it, it felt like I was cheating, as opposed to walking around, starting from the very beginning. Then it felt like, okay, this is a fresh new start for me. Like now I can do it and it makes sense. And so I would just do it over and over until I did it where it felt right to me. And I've definitely gotten better about this over the years. It's not that bad anymore. I promise you, I can walk with friends, internally fighting myself, but I can still walk with friends. I was recently in Arizona, and my best friend can attest to this, that I can walk with people. I'm not too weird in public. Anyway, so how do I live with it finally? Well, the way that I kind of deal with things, or like I guess not how I deal with it, but it's like how it feels like. Like I said, like 8,000 times at this point, it is debilitating because of that kind of thing, right? But I've come to accept that this is just who I am. This is how my mind works. I'm like, my mind is going to think of things. And I feel like I'm strong enough mentally to not let those thoughts really affect me the way they used to. It's still a struggle, especially like the biggest thing for me is the health anxiety. But even with that, I've gotten better over time. The reason why my best friend doesn't know about the congestive heart failure, health anxiety that I've had recently is because I've gotten better. Because I didn't text her about it and blow up her phone, worried about that I'm going to die in the next month or so or whatever. I've gotten better at handling it and not letting the anxiety take over. So, I mean, the best thing that I can say in terms of getting to that point for anybody who does struggle with OCD is, I mean, like anywhere you go is going to say it pretty much. Like any professional that you go to who knows OCD, they're going to tell you that one of the things that you can do that's very effective is exposure therapy. Expose yourself to those OCD thoughts and just kind of live with that thought and don't do anything about it. And just sit with it and get comfortable with having the thought permeate your mind. And then once you can find that level of comfort with it, and it doesn't scare you anymore, and you don't get like super anxious about it, it becomes a lot easier to control it and say, okay, I allowed you to exist. I allowed you to do your thing that you're going to do, OCD. Now I'm taking control. And now I'm going to say, that thought is not going to affect me. And yeah, it works. It's very, 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 very helpful to do that. But it is a lot of work. I will tell you, it is a lot of work that you need to put in to get to that point. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to get a lot of anxiety on the way. And this is coming from somebody who, like, I consider myself pretty mentally good. But I struggled with that immensely because it is, like I said already 1,000 times, it's debilitating. Like when the thoughts kick in, it's like, it's bad. It's really bad. But yeah, you have to get comfortable with the bad feeling, and you have to, one of my favorite things to live by, I guess, is comfort in the uncomfort, or comfort in the uncomfortable, rather. And I try to live by that so heavily in my life, where I try to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, because it's such a great way to balance yourself out. This has turned into a motivational, video now, I guess, but it is true. finding comfort in the uncomfort is a very great way of finding balance within yourself, because you get yourself comfortable with the imbalance that you have in yourself. So really great way to find that balance. Anyway, and honestly, what a amazing like connection I just made in my mind. It's like the whole yin and yang thing, right? It's all about balance. You have to find what you find comfortable in life by doing the uncomfortable. That's how you find comfort. Anyway, I didn't mean for this video to be 30 minutes long and randomly turn into some kind of motivational video, but that's what happens when you're 2 edibles deep and you decide to do a video about OCD, a very deep topic. Anyway, as always, I hope y'all could glean something from this. I don't know if you can or not. Beats me. All I know is that this nail is going to be back on my finger for the next video, I promise. And also don't forget, subscribe button, up, down, left and right, pink and blue, Dance's Revolution, wherever the subscribe button is for you. And adios, compadres. I don't know anymore. Bye.